Welcome back to Advocacy in Motion. I'm your host, Tommy Finn. And if you've seen the program before, you know we're here to give a vision and a voice to nonprofit organizations and individuals making an impact in our community. And this month, we're really pleased to recognize Women in History Month. The next 4 episodes of Advocacy, we will be visiting with women who are truly making an impact. And coming up in the future, we have Lisa Brodsky, the CEO of Community Homes for Adults with Intellectual Disabilities. We have the Corporate Communication Director of the Dallas Mavericks. And we have Pat Higgins, President and CEO of Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum. So we are thankful for them coming on board and hope to share their stories. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to thank our sponsor, Niagara. For those who know, Niagara is the leading manufacturer and distributor of water-conserving plumbing products. Their new stealth toilets save up to 60% of water, and that means 60% of cost, which is important for everyone, but it's mostly important with their work for nonprofit organizations and affordable housing units, where that money can go to far better places than to pay the water bill. So we want to thank Niagara being on board with us and for continuing to be on board. They're going to be with us for quite a while and allow us to continue reaching out to more nonprofit organizations. So thank you to them. My guest today, I feel like I am your guest. I appreciate you making the long walk across the hall from your office to the studio here. Is Julie Dobbs. Welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like I'm in your studio. You are the host, one of the hosts with Emily Jones of the Mom Game from right here. And
yep.
So
this is our turf. We like it here.
It is
a good
turf.
place.
It is. And I'll just quickly, anybody who hasn't seen the Mom Game, look it up. You guys are fun. I mean, it's just. That's just what it is.
Thank you.
It's one of the most fun podcasts from around here, so I really enjoy it myself.
Thank you.
So I said you're executive here at Vocal Studios, host of the Mom Game. You are also now a morning host on the new Freak radio show at 97.1.
That's right.
How's that going? Is it you're busy?
I'm busy. Yeah. The Freak is going really well. It's really fun. I worked at the Ticket for a long time, and I know we'll get to that. But after I left the Ticket and, I was part-time there. I wasn't doing much. I was still technically there in a part-time role. And that's when I really kind of started to focus on the Mom Game and stuff here at Vocal, which ended up leading into the Dobbs network, which is another thing that Emily and I work on and the guys here at Vocal work on. But I felt like that was kind of where I was at. I was like, okay, I can be part-time at the Ticket every once in a while. I'll focus on the Mom Game. I'll do the Dobbs network, which has been so much fun. Help out, Vocal Studios and bringing people in and doing new, exciting, fun podcasts like yours. And then I got the call about the Freak, and I didn't ever see that coming in my life. Like, who in a million years would expect that Mike Reiner would start up another radio station that's similar to the Ticket but different, and that they would want me to be a part of it. I did not see that coming, but it's just one of those phone calls that you get and you're like, yes, I will do whatever it takes to make this happen. I want to be a part of something like this, like be on the ground floor with a brand new radio station with a bunch of people that I love. And then they asked about, doing the mornings. And I was like, oh, I'm not a morning person. Not a morning person at all. I'm that person that rolls out of bed like at the last second to get kids to school. And, I stay up late, not super late, but I'm more of a night owl than a morning person. But in radio, having a morning show is, it's afternoon drive. It's something that a lot of people strive to do and want a point that people want to get to. So to have that opportunity in front of me was just something that for me was like a stop down. Yes, I'll figure everything else out. And I'm still in the process of figuring everything else out. I don't know that it will ever be figured out, but it's awesome. It's so much fun. I love everybody there. It's a wonderful collection of people. And to just kind of have the the freedom to be able to talk about literally what we want, what we're passionate about, what we find interesting. I think a lot of people will listen because they're interested in what we're talking about too. Because if you love something, you make it fun and interesting to talk about. And for us on my show, on the Speakeasy, it is a lot of sports, but it's sports when we feel like we want to talk about sports.
Well, that's great, and great that they reached out to you.
Yeah,
and yourself and your partner Emily Jones on the Mom Game, and Gina Miller and Christy Scales. We just sort of know you all as sports broadcasters now. You're part of the culture. Mike reached out to you, invited you in, but it wasn't always that way for women in sports broadcasting, was it? How did you get started? And what did you have to go through?
A lot. And to have my name in that group, I don't know that I belong in that group with Emily and Gina and Christy, but thank you. Because those are all really, really wonderful, accomplished broadcasters and people that have been in the industry and that have stuck around for a long time. And all people I've had the pleasure of working with, and they're all just wonderful. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't always that way. And to break into it, I don't know. I think it's not hard to initially get started in it. What's hard is to stay. Okay. What's hard is to stay in the industry as a female broadcaster. So I was lucky in that I kind of figured out in high school what I really wanted to do, which is weird. A lot of people don't figure that out till later in life. But I did, and I had a girlfriend who was a couple years older than me that wanted to be a news anchor, and she had told me about the University of Missouri, and I decided that at some point along the way I wanted to be a news anchor, which I kind of sort of have done, but not really. But it got me in the industry, right? Broadcast journalism. And then she told me about University of Missouri. I went up and visited and just fell in love with it, fell in love with the campus, and loved the hands-on experience that you can get there as a news reporter, a news anchor, even a sports anchor. So I went to school there, and that helped a lot. But I was able to get a job right out of school with the Dallas Cowboys via an internship that I had at Fox Sports Southwest. I stayed in touch with the people there, and they told me about an opening. The Cowboys needed a reporter, and I went in. I did that for one season, kind of on a freelance basis. I mean, I was there all day, every day, but I wasn't a full-time employee. And that's kind of the rest is history from that point on. That brought me to Dallas. But I... when I say the hardest part is to stay in the industry, I mean, I could tell you, I don't know if I could rattle off here quickly, but all the different jobs I've had to I guess just hang on tight to it and not let it go. It was Cowboys reporter. It was, I did something out at Texas Motor Speedway. I hosted a show on NASCAR. I didn't know anything about NASCAR, but I was like, sure, I could do that. Let's talk about NASCAR. Did that. I did TXA 21 Rangers games, all the Friday night games. So I did that, kind of like what Emily does, but it was a hybrid of what Jim Knox used to do and what Emily does. So I was interviewing people in the crowd and doing the post game, run out onto the field and interview somebody. So that was a challenge. I did that for a couple of years and I loved it. Then I went back over to Fox and was behind the scenes at Fox Sports Southwest, and then eventually worked my way on camera there. So I was a reporter for the Stars. I was a producer for the Stars weekly show, Stars Insider, and then whatever else they needed. I was doing a lot of behind the scenes editing and that kind of stuff. And there were so many points along the way where I wasn't doing what I necessarily wanted, and I wasn't making very much money at all. And I was dealing with, a-hole bosses. It's happened multiple times. So there's just so many points where I thought, I don't know that I'm cut out for this, and you look around and it's mostly men, and it's mostly men that are in power, and that are the bosses. So I think that I never wanted to give it up. And I didn't even hit on all the things, but from the Stars, then it turned in, I was the ringside reporter for the Stars, which was kind of my, this is it moment. I was doing sidelines and interviewing the players and got very ingrained with that team and loved that. And then that was kind of pulled out from under me quickly and abruptly. But even then it was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And that's when I found the ticket, and that's when I got into radio. And I was part-time there. Like, here I am 10 years into the career and working in the industry, and making barely any money again,
right.
Because that's what happens when you go back and start from in radio. Right. And so it just felt like there were a lot of moments where I was like, this doesn't make sense. I could go do like some sort of PR or marketing job and probably make a lot more and have steady hours and all of that. But something inside me just never wanted to quit, I guess. And the ticket, was a 3-year kind of stint or whatever. And then I started the mom game because I thought, I've had all of this experience. I want to do something that I feel passionate about, and I want to do it with somebody that I love and that is really good and that has the experience working in sports and being a mom. And that was Emily. And that kind of took off on its own, which was awesome because that was the first thing after all of those other things that I had built, that I was in charge of. And then from there, it's been the Dub Network, and then now the Freak, which I didn't think radio would continue. So long story short, it's just like, I think it's the never giving up, I guess, or something. That's the hardest part, because there's a lot of roadblocks along the way in any industry for anybody, not just women. But I kept kind of running into them, and I didn't want to turn back. I didn't want to give up on a dream, and so here I am with multiple random jobs now. But it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
We publish a magazine, Youth Sports Today, and it's basically for student athletes, their parents, educators, and we want to give them positive stories. And I've asked Christy Scales when she was here, and Nancy Lieberman, and some. What would you say to the young people? You keep going and going, and you're talking about all the obstacles and motivation, what you wanted to do. What do you say to young people? Whether it doesn't have to be sports, it can be anything that a dream they have. Yeah,
that's a good question. I guess it would just be like never give up, like never give up. If you have your heart set on something, it's not going to be an easy ride. But if you really are passionate about it and you feel like this is your calling and it's something you want to do, never give up on it and hang on tight to it. And it might shift a little bit in what it is that you're doing. But if you want to, be in sports, work in sports, it might not be on camera. You might be behind the scenes, but just never give up. Stay close to your goal. I think that's what I would say, because like I said, there's a lot of things along the way that can push you away. And then what? And then you go do something that maybe you don't love as much. You might get lucky and end up loving it. But if you put yourself in a spot where you're just doing something to make money, we all know that sometimes that's not the end goal. And then all of a sudden you're in this job that you don't love. And then, you're unhappy in the end. So if you can pull it off and stick with it, I would just say never give up on those dreams and the thing that you feel called to do.
Did you have any role models as you were in the industry or as you were progressing?
Yeah. I had role models that I didn't know. And then I had role models that I worked closely with. I think ones that I would just see on TV that I loved watching would be like Erin Andrews and Samantha Steele, who now is Sam Ponder on ESPN. And these are people that are pretty close to my age. So it was when I was getting into it and I'd see them and I was just super impressed with them and watched their career journeys really closely because I knew at that point that that's kind of what I was wanting to do. Michelle Tafoya, I think, is a good one. On NFL sidelines, I always watched her and thought she did such a wonderful job. But close in my world, honestly, my role models that I got to know are some of these people that you listed. Christy Scales, I worked with her when I was right out of school, and I just saw her man, she knows her stuff, and she is right in there with Brad and Babe, and they're not afraid to give her an open mic and just let her go, and I actually did one season. I worked with Brad. They had me do, it was the indoor football league. I think it was the Desperados.
At the
time. And so they were I got to do sidelines with Brad. It wasn't Babe, someone else. But I got some advice from him and just to see how he talked about Christy and how much they respected her. And I was like, man, how am I going to work with Brad on Dallas Desperados when he's used to working with Christy Scales? Like, and I don't know that I did a very good job, but the league didn't last too long anyway. But I would say Christy was one of them, because right out of the gates, like, she was so kind to me and gave me some really wonderful advice. Dana and Emily at Fox were two role models for me because I was, like I said, I interned there. So I started there young. I was still in college, and then I went back and I was like schlepping tape and editing highlights and doing whatever I could to just kind of stick around there until something else became available. And Dana Larson has always been 100% just a beautiful person, inside and out, kind. And she's so good at her job. And Emily was the same and still is. And obviously everything's worked out really well for both of them. And now the fact that I have a show with Emily is just awesome and fun. And I love her to death. So I would say she and Dana were a couple of my role models, and Christy Scales too. So I'm lucky to have been able to work with all of them as well.
I am too. I worked with that whole crew for many years. Christy and I go way back, and she was my guest host when we had Jill Cumnock on from Ronald McDonald House, and I was stunned how prepared Christy was.
Yeah,
I mean, I've got my notes here for us, and I had for that. And Christy, I mean, she had studied.
Wow,
she knew everything about Ronald McDonald House, and I learned so much from her.
Yeah.
And it's great. And we're working together on a new project, a new podcast. She's going to co-host when we go out to the Medal of Honor Museum.
Oh, cool.
In Arlington to interview and take a tour out there with.
She'll be great at that.
Chris. And so, so she'll be back on the show often as a co-host.
She's wonderful. And, you say that about the preparation. That's how Dana is. Like, she's, could probably do a Mavs pre and post game show with her eyes closed at this point. She's done so many of them, but she's somebody that just over prepares. And when you ask her, like, what leads to your success, that's what she says. She's like, I'm always prepared. Emily and I are a little more fly by the seat of our pants people.
I think that makes the mom game kind of fun.
It does.
Know. That's
and
good.
Sometimes you can have really great interviews when you don't have a plan, and but those two, I love that they both are that way, because it's definitely made them successful.
Let me take a quick break here to talk about one of our other sponsors that's kind of near and dear to my heart because it's my family, Piranha Haven. It's a wonderful little gift shop in downtown Richardson. And Piranha is Sanskrit for life, force, and energy. And so when you walk in the shop, that's really what you feel. They have all kinds of free trade merchandise, artwork, local artists. And on the fourth Saturday of every month, they hold a psychic fair. And so you can go to piranhahaven.com and see all that's going on there. You can book psychic readings on that website. And then, have fun and show up at the psychic fair. So that's piranhahaven.com.
That's cool.
And if you go in, you see Alex, tell her dad said hi. So
awesome. I could use a psychic reading.
Pardon me?
I said I could use a reading.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a story later. But
okay.
I don't have the gift, but I don't deny it either.
Right.
So there we go. Backing up a little bit, the ticket. That was your breakthrough, so to speak. How was it working in the guy's world of the ticket? Because ticket was a monster radio station, sports station then. And you were right in the middle of it. How'd that work out? How'd all that happen?
It was really like, I guess, I don't know, organic, I guess, how it happened. But I referenced doing TV and how I kind of thought I was in a spot where I would be doing TV for another 10, 15 years at that role. Who knows? And it didn't happen. So I had like a little bit of a panic moment. And I was like, well, I'm here in Dallas and I've got all this like experience in this profession. Where do I go? And then I thought about the ticket. I was like, man, everybody loves the ticket and they talk about all sports. And I've kind of worked in all sports and let's see what happens. So I reached out to Sean Bass, who is like the news director there, and he staffs the ticker people basically. And he told me that, I could probably get a part-time job doing weekend tickers. So I was like, okay, I'll try this. Why not? Become like a little tiny part of the monster and see what happens. So I did that. on weekends. And then TC, who was on the midday show, or that did the midday shift with Norm and Donnie and Bob and Dan at the time, he left, and that was an open position. So I, at that point, still hadn't figured out what I was going to do and what I wanted to do, and figured why not, try out for it or interview for it or whatever, and ended up getting it. So that was another job, kind of like now with the Freak, where, when I interviewed for the ticket, I was pregnant with my second baby, and I didn't know how much that was going to change my life, and probably not a good time to take a new full-time job, but I did. And we figured it out schedule-wise as a family, and I gave it a few years, and it was just awesome. It was really fun. Everybody there on the air, like I say, that those are some of the most genuinely nice, kind people, and also some of the funniest people you'll ever meet. And it was really fun for me to kind of find my radio personality or radio voice with those guys. And probably got closest with Dan and Jake and Dan McDowell, who we, our initial interactions were interesting because I had to call him out for something he'd said about me a long time before, and I think that in that moment he probably realized this chick can kind of hold her own, and she's not afraid to make fun of me. I'm the big bad radio host, and she's the ticker person, and I could make fun of him and he'd laugh. And now he and I are still super close, and he became a little bit of a radio mentor for me. I think a lot of them did, but Dan probably mostly. But just working with Norm was wonderful, Norm Hitzkiss every day, and getting to know his family and getting to know Donnie so well. And Bob, all of them, they're just great. They're wonderful people. And the whole experience was really, really good. It was a shame, when it did have to end, just because practically it wasn't making sense for me, money-wise, life-wise, mom-wise, all of that. But it was something that obviously really helped me in my career, and helped a lot more people to know who I was. Of all the time I'd been on TV, NASCAR, Rangers, and Stars. Okay, not a ton of people watching all of those things, some, but I wasn't the face of the Stars or the face of the Rangers like Emily. That's something you can make a whole career of. But I was just kind of popping up wherever I could. And so it's funny because after all that time, it's the ticket is the thing that people know me for and recognize me for. Right. But it was a really wonderful experience. And through that, I really learned that I loved radio, and I loved doing radio, and it's a lot different than TV. But it was a lot of fun.
That's great that, you mentioned you've overcome so much, ongoing progression, I guess to say. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that good? Yeah. Good way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you kind of comfortable where you are now? Are you still, is it something in the future, or?
I don't think I need to be doing anything else right now.
Okay.
I'm definitely comfortable with where I am. The idea with the Freak is that we're, 5 months, 6 months into something that's going to last a really long time, and that's going to grow and evolve. And I hope that that's the truth, and I hope that I can stay there for a really long time. And it's something that is thankfully it's not one piece to the puzzle when it comes to helping financially. It's I have a salary, and I've never really had that. I'm always just trying to put pieces together. It's when I take this and I take that, and then I do this and I do this fishing show, and I pull all these little chunks of money together, then I have a real salary. That's how I've always been.
Yeah.
But now I've got one, so that helps, and it takes a lot of pressure off, and it helps the family. And anyone with kids knows that you gotta have that.
Absolutely.
You gotta be helping the family if you're leaving the house every day. So I hope that it stays the way it is for a while, and it's just kind of figuring out the juggling of all the other things too that I'm still working through. But no, I love what the Freak is doing, and I do feel like it's going to be around a long time, and I hope to be a part of it.
Well, we were really fortunate to to be here, to find the vocal studios. It was kind of an odd way we came about. My agency, we were sponsoring some nonprofit messages on Pat Wheeler's radio show. He had a golf radio show for many years. And we bought some time there, and we would shout out to nonprofits, kind of like we're doing here. And his radio station flipped formats on him. They went from news, talk, sports to Korean language. So Pat we're looking around, and then my friend Tom Verhoeven said, "Hey, what do you think about coming on a podcast?" So he came over here. We met you guys, and as we got talking, I'm thinking, well, I'll sponsor Pat's podcast again. And then Tom said, "Why don't you start your own show?"
Right.
And say,
sometimes it's that thinking outside the box, right? And
you can talk about different help different nonprofits every week. So we sort of fell into it. And I'd never done anything like this before, but we had been working. I've been very fortunate over my career with CBS and with the Cowboys and the Rangers that not only they allowed us to work with nonprofits, they encouraged it. So we go way back, and you'll hear me on the show quite a bit saying, well, back 10 years ago when we did this with, Ronald McDonald House or whatever. So a lot of the organizations or the people you see on the show, we've worked with for years. And so we're so pleased to have found a home here.
Yeah.
And
we're happy that you're here.
To be able to, to keep going. And we're very pleased with our friends at Niagara who are sponsors here. So we're good to go for another several months.
Awesome.
And we have a great lineup of guests coming up in the future. So
I love it.
So we appreciate the home here.
Yeah, well, good. It's definitely a great concept for a show, right? Like you hear about the charity endeavors of people or different charities that, pop up on the broadcast of an NFL game or within a radio show. You hear little tidbits, but to have a whole hour where you can bring those things together and really dive into it and what this organization actually does and how they're changing lives, I love it. I love it.
Well, good. We really appreciate being here.
Yeah.
And we're going to be moving forward and doing some new things. And so we appreciate you guys.
Yes.
And and the other shows you have here are really fun too. You've got the Dub Network. And our friends in Niagara have stepped up. They're sponsoring some of those.
And they're awesome.
Even Nate Newton and Isaiah Standback came out to one of the Niagara events and spoke and signed autographs, so they're getting involved with that. So,
I love it.
And then Pat's show is doing well. Hit It Where They Mow, talking golf in Texas with Pat Wheeler. So it's worked out. We appreciate it's worked out well. We're looking forward to moving forward.
It's awesome. The guys here make it super easy, and
they're great.
They're great, and I know it's kind of cool to just have like your own platform. You do whatever you want with. Flash whatever photos you want up behind you. Have whatever guests you want on. It's like an open studio to come work with. It's awesome.
And we say each week, if there's somebody out there that if there is an organization or a nonprofit that is near and dear to your heart, let us know about it. This is what we're here for. I'm Thomas at tjadvocacy.com. Drop me a quick email and say, hey, why don't you check out this group or this person?
Yeah.
And it's working out well. We have had several recommendations that have led us to organizations we didn't know about.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
It's great. Yeah. I know you and I have talked about maybe doing something I want to work with you on with Alzheimer's. I've got Alzheimer's. I've got breast cancer. I've got, not me personally, but things that I'm passionate about,
Yeah.
My dad has Alzheimer's, so that's the connection there. And then
we're going to put that together. I know we work with Jose Guzman and his Foundation 23. He supports the caregivers of Alzheimer's patients. So we've been fortunate to work with him a little bit.
I know some I know some that would love.
You do, yeah. So we'll put that together.
Yeah.
You can just count on that being up.
I love it. Well, I'm not too far away.
No,
I'm not going anywhere.
You're across the hall.
I'm not going anywhere.
And fortunately, we're not either. So this is good. This is good news.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For coming in and sharing your story and helping and giving some advice to some young people. And
anytime.
Carly Patterson asked her about young advice, and she says, hard work never fails you.
That's good advice.
And I think that's something we want to leave with.
Yeah.
That. So, just
she
follow your dreams.
She might have beat my advice. That's good advice, Carly.
That is good advice.
Never give up. Hard work never fails.
It's
all true.
All right. Thank you so much.